You have to be very wise about how you use humor.
I requested a queen-size bed.
You can say those words in that order and you don't explode?
Because you have to read the room.
You can have anything you want in this world if you help enough other people get what they want, and sales is a vehicle to do that. Here's your pit. This is where I see you're at. Here's the peak that you want to go. If what I have to offer is the path that's going to get you there, let's talk about it.
If I can make you laugh, I feel seen by you. You trust me in a weird way.
Life is a pitch. It's simply that. It is a pitch, and it is fun. Let's make sure that you're being sold what you want and you're selling what you actually want to sell. I really just love selling. It's the easiest thing on the planet if you believe in yourself. Let's buckle up. By the way, my name's JL. This is Sell Anything.
We got the one and only Mr. Bryce Prescott. Headlines at a lot of major comedy clubs across the West Coast. He's funny. And I want to tie in how being funny is part of sales. That's what I want to talk about.
I like it.
And not only funny, but like he's been the man behind a lot of men who have made their rise up the ranks on social media, all over the place. Knows
You
a lot.
talking about me still?
Yeah, still.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, still talking about you, man.
Okay.
Like we crossed paths. Tell us about you just a little bit. Because then when we crossed paths, I was very impressed with your resume. And it's only gotten better since I've seen you last.
Well, it started on a sunny day in July
Okay.
1975, Jacksonville, Florida. A young boy comes. I don't know what you want me to say. So I am a comedian. That's
Yes.
I have headlined across the Western United States. I'm hoping to be on stage again here in a couple weeks when my boy Jeff Dye comes to town. We'll see. I'm the founder as well of Media Automated, which is a podcast consulting creation company. I've decided to take my skills in communication and comedy and the whole thing and basically develop hosts. You want to be a good host behind the mic, a great host, a dynamic, magnetic host, I got you. And so that's the short version of the evolution of what I've been doing. When you and I first connected, it was more about just the normal podcast stuff.
Yeah.
What do we do? Who's my avatar? How do I craft this to be the thing that needs to be that he would respond to, that they would respond to? And now it's taking a little bit different direction that's more expansive. So
I love it, man. And that actually, I think there are a lot of synergies in this conversation because when we did first start and the idea was I'm going to do a sales podcast. And that was like, You've been here on your own path. I've been on my own path. And I have realized, and it sounds similar to what the conversation before the episode, what you've realized is we're not necessarily interested in the actual logistics of the craft of the podcasting and the producing and the cutting the shorts, or I'm not interested in saying, hey, here's how you overcome objections and here's how you make a pitch and here's how. I'm not interested in that stuff. I can do it at a really high level, just like you could produce at a really high level, but we're interested in the actual man inside of the arena and helping them evolve and helping them understand themselves. So you've had a really fun evolution from our previous conversations of back in the day, you were a ski instructor, right?
I was a skier, yeah.
Didn't you teach at Sundance? Or?
I didn't teach. I was a rental guy, but then outside of that, I was a sponsored athlete.
And then to mortgage, and then to like that's what I want to hear. And give us your story. What's brought you to this point? The realization of like, oh, dude, I actually know how to help influence people for the better, which is just sales.
Yeah,
that's what I want to hear. And be funny while you do it.
So I guess the common thread between all of the different careers that I've had is I recognize that you're never going to get anywhere if you are unwilling to acknowledge relationship. Everything is about relationship, and the quality of relationship starts at communication. And so just like with sales, whether it's comedy, coaching, consulting, therapy, whatever it is, it's an ability to communicate in a certain way that leads people to either the place you want them to go or the place that they need to go. And ideally, those are the same. So, yeah, I was a mortgage broker for the longest time, 7 years doing that. That was an interesting career because it's a combination of technical work, understanding markets, understanding rates and math and interest, and then how to sell that to somebody. So you have to basically, it was my mortgage career where I really feel like I first started understanding how to take something complex and make it simple.
Okay.
When I look at sales nowadays and I look at the mistakes that people make in that area, it's they like to overcomplicate it. They don't just get to the root of it. And so whatever it was that I did or have done, that's been the thing that has been underneath it, is that I am by nature a coach. I'm by nature a teacher, an educator, a communicator. And as I've aged and gotten older, now I'm starting to take the wheel more and be like, I would rather do this and start to create more for myself instead of being, a guy that worked at ski resorts and then a mortgage guy. And then I was in real estate for a bit. And then I got into my own deal where I was doing coaching and consulting, and then the podcast thing evolved, and that has opened up other opportunities for more coaching and consulting and podcasting, and then media, and then comedy. And it's all talking, man. It's just yappity yap 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 is what you got to do.
Just yappity yap yap yap.
Yeah.
Which is the essence of sales, dude, is communicating. The thing I love the most of what you said was, okay, where you want to take them and where they need to go, and ideally they're the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's the essence of powerfully persuading somebody or communicating or selling somebody is, all right, here's your pit. This is where I see you're at. Here's the peak that you want to go. Like, if what I have to offer is the path that's going to get you there, let's talk about it and let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
And so the fun thing is, and what I've enjoyed all of our conversations is you have such an articulate way of lacing humor inside of it where it's like, that was almost inappropriate funny, but it landed and it made sense. Is that a skill you cultivated? Is that something that innately is just...
I think I've developed it over the years. It's been there from the jump.
Yeah.
As a young man.
Okay.
I was always the funny kid.
Okay.
But shy funny, subtle funny. I heard the word ambivert, that you're an introvert, extrovert.
Okay.
Like, well, that's me. Like, I can be center of attention on the stage, being the guy, but at a certain point when that tank's empty, I got to go. Like, I need to go be by myself and hermit up, and it's all good. So,
Okay.
but I learned those skills as a young man, that wit and sarcasm were rewarded, and that humor is something that it lightens the mood. It allows people to feel more authentic, I think. I believe that one of the reasons why I chose to develop that as a skill was I want to, when I talk to people or communicate with people, I want to get to the point. I want to get to a place where, like, I'm really with you.
Yeah.
That it's just, we can be real with each other and talk.
Yeah.
And humor diffuses a lot of the walls that people put up. And it's a weird sort of mechanism for trust. If I can make you laugh, I feel seen by you. If I can make you laugh, though, you trust me in a weird way, because now all of a sudden, most of the time, humor is some different angle. Sometimes it's self-deprecating. It's something where it's like you look at the situation, whatever it is, different.
Right.
And that, in a weird way, builds trust. If I'm the one that points something out that you didn't see before, you're like, huh. You used the word seduction. You didn't say seduction. You were talking about something. But in the sales world and even in comedy, it's a strategic seduction. I love that term, strategic seduction, because sales isn't sales. It's a seduction. It's a dance. It's getting somebody to a place where they're the ones choosing it and you're just the dance partner.
Yeah.
And so comedy is a similar thing. So is consulting. It's in comedy, there's that concept called the left turn, where you go the other way of the natural, thought out road. And it takes people off guard. And that is a part of the seducing and the seduction and the putting in people in a position to look at things different.
Dude, that actually is good. So in NLP, right? At NLP, it's called the pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
Like, they're expecting this, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's not what I was anticipating. And then it re-engages them with
Let me give an example real quick of the left turn as I'm referencing it here.
Okay.
There's a popular meme that's floating around right now where it shows a text message exchange between a car salesman and a guy.
Okay.
And the car salesman says, hey, man, what's going on? He's like, I talked to my wife. I'm not going to be able to pull the trigger on the car at this time. And the sales guy then says in the meme, oh, that's cool. Would you like to show you some other options? And he goes, I would. and he shows different options of
know
women
this
to
is go-
marry, not other cars.
I figured that's where it
so
was gonna
that's
go.
the left
Yeah.
turn. Like that's the place. So I want to make sure that was clear because I wasn't very articulate with how I described that. And that's the thing where it's like, oh, it was right there. I get it.
Yeah.
Ha, ha.
Yeah.
But it is a pattern interrupt. In NLP speak, it's the thing where you kind of shocks you out of the.
Wait a minute. Yeah. It breaks the state a little bit. Dude, that's actually really funny. That's so with that, there's so many questions I have to ask, but the biggest question that I have to ask is, we talked about the comedy taking down the walls. Tell me some real life examples where you've seen that happen and it's helped move the needle, because you're moving into the space of, like what we mentioned before, you're not necessarily producing podcasts anymore as much as you are.
I still am.
Producing the producer of the podcast is what we're transitioning to. Still producing them.
Yeah.
However, like making the podcaster more interesting.
Sure. Yes.
So, and you do have a very innate way of breaking down those walls with humor, but do you have some specific examples or frameworks that you've got created that you're going to use on people to do that? Like, hey, this is how I'm going to take that wall down. Like that you could teach, because we have a lot of our audience is door to door. And so they get on the doors and they've got to break that person's preoccupation, right? As soon as someone comes to the door, you got to say something to get their attention. And for people who are innately funny, what would be your advice? What was something they could say to break down that wall?
So if you're innately funny and you're in a sales environment like door to door,
Right.
I think that you have to be very wise about how you use humor, because you have to read the room.
100%.
You have to know if this is going to be acceptable or not to who's there. And so that's an interesting dynamic there. I think that it's good in the relationship building part of whether it's door to door or other sales processes where you're trying to let somebody get to know you. And as far as specific frames or ways to teach somebody to do that, there's not one specifically that I would hint to right now, but I would say that most people are more concerned about the script or being polished than they are about being real. And people respond to realness. We are entering a very interesting age where you can't get away with being a liar anymore. And what I mean by that is that we have all of these tech, AI, Chat GPT, all of this stuff that is going to make it very, very soon that everything that comes out is going to be flawless. There's never going to be an errant sound. It's going to have the perfect imagery, the perfect copy written, the perfect everything. And so when you get to the point to where everything is perfect, how do you differentiate between that and what's different between you, me, and the wall?
Yeah.
Authenticity.
Right.
Realness.
Right.
Being unpolished, being approachable, being somebody that's a little bit quirky, a little bit weird. We have spent so much in the last decades trying to root out people doing that and becoming more polished, where now we're inverting to where it's like, now we need to be the weird guy. Now we need to be the guy that is the different one, that is unique and that makes people go, who's this guy? Because that's an interesting person. When I started comedy, one of my really good friends is a guy by the name of Rodney Norman. And most people know who Rodney is. He's got this crazy hair, and he's the guy that's like, hey, everybody, have a nice day. Like, he's this old guy, and he's amazing. He popped during COVID. He went super viral, and it couldn't have happened to a better guy. He's just one of the nicest men I've ever met. But he gave me some advice. He goes, being funny isn't the first role. Being memorable is. And then when you're memorable, then be funny. Because if you're funny and nobody remembers, it doesn't matter. But if you're memorable and only kind of funny, they'll remember. And that gives you an in to be able to be funnier the next time. So a lot of that has to do as well with some of the things we're talking about here with sales. Like, just be memorable. Find ways to do that. So when I'm teaching people, I want to find out the things they're embarrassed of. I want to find out the things that they're hiding. I want to find the data that's going to let me help them tap into that part of themselves. It's going to free them up so that their natural personality comes out, because that's what closes people.
I agree with that. Dude, that's really powerful. So the authenticity being, and you're right, you can't, if people, especially in sales, if people feel like, or actually have the evidence and can prove that they've been lied to, that'll blow up a deal faster than anything else on the planet.
Oh, for sure.
But if you are just very raw, very honest, very real about what the fact is, the deals can stay intact even through the weird stuff. even through it's like, well, that's not what I thought it was, but at least I knew that's what it was going to be. And so we can work through that. How did you come to that conclusion? How did you come to that honesty thing? Because that's just that in of itself is very honest, which is a very uncommon thing these days.
Well, it came through my own journey of self-discovery for me.
Cool.
Having to develop my own, or not develop, but tap into my own sense of self.
Awareness.
Yeah.
Okay.
You and I have had we've been a part of upgrade training,
Yep.
and we're both associated with Warrior.
Right.
And so in both of those schools, if you will, there are learnings and teaching that come about, especially in Warrior, the whole stop lying.
Right. The code.
Okay, stop lying.
Yeah.
Well, there's two sides of it. There's tell the truth,
Mhm.
and there's stop lying.
Yeah.
Most people hearing this would think, well, that's the same thing. It's like, well, it's actually not the same thing. Stopping lying is about accuracy, or is about stop lying. Don't tell things that aren't true.
Right.
Telling the truth, or I'm getting mixed up. Stop lying and tell the truth. Telling the truth is it's accuracy. It's like
Yeah.
full truth.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the next filter of relevance, and it has to be in a relevant way. You're just not telling things that don't matter. But my whole point of that is when I got to that point where I was having to go through and dig through these layers I didn't even know were layers inside of me.
Yeah.
When I first started understanding what that meant, to tell the truth and to stop lying,
Yeah.
I realized that I was like many, many people, and that I was gaslighting myself.
Mm.
I started to understand the concept of toxic positivity, in that I would try to convince myself, and upgrade in a way, I think, I'm misunderstanding it, so this is my personal experience. I'll say it this way. In NLP, there's almost this sort of hint to try to rework your current perspective about something so that it's a different way. It's like, no, I'm fine with this. It's all good. It's great. When I don't feel fine and good and great on the inside, I get to acknowledge what I'm experiencing in order to then take that and transition it into something that I would be fine and good and great with.
Powerful.
The point of where I'm going with all that is that our world's full of liars, and you can't do that anymore.
You can't.
It used to be okay, and I don't mean that morally. I mean that just in culturally in society.
Yeah. We don't talk about that.
We even have just that guy's a used car salesman. The used car salesman moniker includes a bunch of stuff that's unsavory about a person.
It really does, dude.
And they earned it for sure, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's not how you live. That's not going to make our species better and have us be. And it's going to come to a head here real soon. I was actually just thinking about this week, JL.
I like it.
With ChatGPT and all these other AI tools that are available.
Yeah.
We are being forced to really get clear about what we want
100%.
on lots of levels. Look at ChatGPT, for example. What a useless piece of technology if you don't know what you're going to ask it.
Valid, dude.
And if you don't ask it something important, it's going to give you something back that's unimportant.
Yeah.
And so as I've gotten into, for example, that using that tool more for productivity and for creativity and things,
Mm-hmm.
I've realized, this is the perfect bridge of the gap. ChatGPT and these other AI tools are going to reward creativity. They're not going to stifle it. They're going to reward it.
Yeah.
Because now they will shorten the time required for you to take a creative idea and get a bunch of really good ideas on top of it and then implement it.
100%.
Okay, so I've gone a lot of different places here. The whole point is that I have noticed about myself, and I want to empower others to do this, to be in a place where they are fine to explore their own sensibilities.
Yeah.
Their own shadows, their own whatever.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what it might say about them. And
There's some truth to that, man. There's not some truth. There's a lot. There is truth in that. Dude, that is really deep. And the cool thing with that is you said the used car salesman idea of it being sleazy. And that's one of the biggest reasons we started the Sell Anything stuff is let's get back to the very basics of selling as a service. It's not a hustle. We're not trying to manipulate people. We want to influence them.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to influence them towards truth. So the only way that we can actually do that as salespeople is to tell the truth. If it's good, bad, or ugly, it does not matter. Like, it's the truth. And from that point, then there's a rapport, and then there's trust, and then
Well, I want you to think about that for a second, okay?
Okay.
That then requires that the product or service that's being sold stand up to the promises being made about it. So now all of a sudden, if we're entering an era where being a liar doesn't fly anymore, and we have salespeople now that are legitimately honest,
Correct.
it's going to require the level of quality of both service and product to raise so that those salespeople can, with integrity, sell that product.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
I agree with you.
And you're right. At that level, sales isn't a hustle at all. It's seduction. You don't know why you need this shit. Come here, baby.
It's a real thing. And that was when I started knocking doors, Bryce, that was my biggest hurdle, was the idea of like, I'm a traveling salesman. Am I just like the scum of the earth? Like what? Like that's where I've landed. I have a degree and this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, when in all reality, I think that if you look at it through the lens of I tell the truth and I provide value and I do what I say I'm going to do, I have integrity, it's one of the most honorable professions on the planet because you are leading people to truth. And
well, let's talk about why else it is.
okay,
It's a legit meritocracy.
that's a big word. Meritocracy is something I don't even know what that means. What
It
does
means
that
you
mean?
earn it.
Okay.
You kill what you eat, or you eat what you kill.
Yeah.
Like there's salaries and draws and all that stuff, but you don't sell, you don't eat. You don't keep your job. So
It's true.
it's one of those things where you've got to perform or you're not in that profession.
It's so true. It's so true. And the cool thing is, we've heard this, and this comes from Warrior, right? Where truth is, transformation is. That's those two exist. And where truth is, God is, and where God is, transformation is inevitable.
Right.
And so companies, manufacturers, products, services will be forced to transform when the sales rep cannot stand. I've never thought of it from that angle, but you're so true. Like, you can't stand behind a product that doesn't actually work. And then if products don't have salespeople to push them because they're no longer willing to lie about it, then that company goes out of business. It's a rising tide. That's exciting, man. I'd never thought of it from that angle.
You're welcome.
Thank that's awesome. So here's a cool thing, and because we've already breached the conversation, I've actually put all of my sales guys on the Warrior app.
Nice.
And it changes the game, man. The idea, and this is, and this will just be a plug for Warrior, I guess. Like, when you can take a sales guy, and I talked about this earlier with a guy who owns a pest control company, and this is a big problem that we're seeing, and I'm bringing it up again because it is the truth. Like, you take all these return missionaries, and they come home, and they've become so reliant on, and this is just speaking in a very tight niche that we're aware of coming from Utah, but they've taken the idea of learning how to rely on God and teach the gospel for 2 years. And then they come home, and all of a sudden what they're getting to be on their mission and their food being provided and everything is taken away. And it's like, oh, dude, you got to go kill something if you want to eat. You got to like get a job.
Right.
Like, you got to pay tuition. You got to do all this.
You know that ache you're feeling right here? You got to go do something about it, bro.
Yeah, like you got to go get after it. And so some of them get recruited into the door-to-door space, and they do well because they know how to work hard. And they have this.
They're used to saying no, being told
yeah,
no.
Their rejection is just a part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
The next door, one more door, we'll just do this. We got this. But all of a sudden, because of that persistence and because of they've got this belief in God, they start to succeed, and then money starts coming in, and then all of a sudden, God almost leaves the equation. And they're like, I got a back-end check. You know what I'm going to do with that back-end check? I'm going to spend it. And it all goes away, and then it perpetuates the cycle of them getting on the doors. But the challenge is they pick up a bunch of sedation habits along the way of, well, I need some Adderall to wake up. Oh, I need more caffeine to wake up.
You're popping Zins out on the road.
Yep, I got to do all these things that like I wasn't doing before just so I can keep my energy up. Oh, dude, now I got to go to bed. Okay, where's my NyQuil or whatever.
Gummies, yeah.
Yep, and then this whole path of chaos just breaks out. And it's, if they could just tell the truth, if you could just get back to the basics of like, what do you really want? Going back to what you're saying, what do you want? Do you want this? Because as soon as all that sedation stuff comes in, then guess what happens? Oh, you can't keep a girlfriend because nobody trusts you. Or you get a divorce because you end up cheating on your wife because you've got all that. It's crazy the pattern that I'm seeing all of it be. But I've noticed with my sales reps that I've put on it, in 2 weeks' time, of them investing in their wife, of them tracking their food, of them working out, of doing just investing in all the domains, the game is changing, and productivity just alone inside of my company is skyrocketing. It's wild.
It's so unbelievably simple,
Right?
when you start telling the truth,
Isn't it?
to really weed out a lot of negative stuff.
If you're in alignment and you are congruent, which is just being in alignment with truth, there is no resistance. Like
Right.
the people that you need to talk to, that the conversations you need to have, the words you need to say will be given to you the moment you need to say them. So things
Well,
just
you get right to
flow.
the objection.
Yeah, it just flows.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
If you're in that place, like, you're going to know, oh, this person legitimately can't afford it. Okay. I can work with that answer.
Yeah, 100%.
At least now I know what options might be available to help overcome that. Instead of
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like,
Yeah, I agree. And if you've created a space as a sales rep or as a professional of, I'm going to shoot straight with you, you shoot straight with me. We don't have to waste 20 minutes figuring out what the real objection is. Just tell me, and we'll figure it out. But if I'm skilled, I'm going to ask you questions that are going to make you tell me. I agree with you. But it all comes from being in a place of congruency and just honest about what the goal is. So I love it.
that's actually a trip that I remember a buddy of mine that used to do summer sales would do.
Yeah.
Is that he would they would still do it in 2x2 on the doors when they were doing this back then. I don't know if that's the way it is now for just one person, but they'd be in the middle of a joke when the person would answer the door, and they'd be laughing like, oh, sorry, we were just this joke. Can I tell you a joke? And like bring the prospect into the joke, and it would totally lower it down as,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
oh, we're just here, selling, I don't know, satellite or pest control or.
That actually is a good approach. That'll break preoccupation real quick.
Yeah.
All based off of humor. I like that. I've never seen guys knock together. So I don't think they've done it for a while, but
I think it was a safety issue in some of the
100%.
some of the more inner cities, but
A safety issue, and this is my own judgment. This is not curiosity. This is judgment and lazy issue. Homeboy just didn't want to go knock, and so he's like, "Can I go with you, buddy, in shadow?" No, dude. Like, you eat what we kill here, so like you go get your own. That would be my approach, but
that makes sense.
yeah. So that's funny, dude. I think humor is great. I think laughter is great. I think there's nothing that you said that I don't agree with. I'm like, these are all these things
Well,
make
what
sense
are we
to me.
doing here then, dude? This is just we're
Here's
gonna
the
break
thing.
each other's arms, patting each other on the back here, bro.
No, here's the best part. This is where we tie it fully into
Oh,
sales.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
This is the best part. So I once heard, and it kind of rocked me, but Grant Cardone was like, "You never disagree with the customer. You just agree." And I was like, I get what you're saying, but he's like, and why? Because the whole point of an entire sale is to come to an agreement. So if you start off super disagreeable, you're doing it the wrong way. And I was like, oh, that
theory makes sense. I don't know how it would be perfectly applied if there's objections and things that they're wrong with, but
yeah.
in theory, I like that idea.
Yeah. So, and sometimes the agreement is we just agree to disagree. Sometimes it's like, nah, dude, that's not going to work. Like, I can't do it at that price point, or you can't afford to pay me the price point that I need, or your wife genuinely said no, maybe get another one. I don't, who knows what the joke is, right? But like, this is sales, is coming to an agreement, finding the neutral ground, even if it's a little bit rocky. And then once we get to the solution, that's a sell.
Why did you want to start a sales podcast?
Dude, selling has just always been a superpower for me. It's been really easy. It's how I've navigated through life, of being able, unfortunately, at times to manipulate people to get out of the consequences that I've done, which is
Nice.
the poopy side of it. Yeah. Like, and this is a funny story, and I don't think I've shared it, but my mom, she battled a lot with substance abuse, and it ultimately is kind of what led to her death. But she taught me how to drive when I was like 12. partially because I think she was pretty high and she couldn't drive. And so she was like, hey, you drive. So in my mind, I was then liberated to take the car and drive. So I took the car and I went and got the mail because we had a post office. And as I pulled back into the driveway, it was a gravel driveway, and I like hit the brakes a little hard, so I skid. And in my mind, I was like, that was like Dukes of Hazzard type stuff. That was awesome. So then I peeled out, and then I skid, and then I peeled out because I just was getting really excited about it. And as I got closer to the house, I peeled out and went to hit the brake, missed the brake, hit the gas again, plowed right into the house, dude. Like right into it. Like not good at all. And
That's some Bo Duke action right there.
dude, like plowed right into the house. And then I put it in reverse and I backed up and I was like, oh, okay, this is not good. But my mom, unfortunately, was under the influence. And so I was like, I'm going to convince her she did it. I'm doing this. Like, you did. You don't remember doing that? Like, I had her like sold on it. Like, and I was in 6th grade. Had her convinced on it that she had done it until she realized that the car was not against the house. And she's like, wait a minute. Whenever I get in a wreck, I don't move. Like where it sits where it lands. How is it not hitting the house? And I was like, oh, and I got exposed there. But like, I've just always been very convincing to get what I want. And I really believe if you do it from a standpoint of integrity and service, it'll change your life. Like you can have anything you want in this world if you help enough other people get what they want. And sales is a vehicle to do that. So that's why sales.
That's a great story.
Thanks, man. So yeah, it was a good story. So this is the last question that I always like to ask. Is there a question I did not ask? Because the goal of this is we want to give people that are listening nuggets to continue to progress towards what they want, right? Like in growth, you've obviously had success. You've been a big headliner. You have your own companies. You've had a lot of success. You've been very successful. Is there a question that I did not ask that if I did ask it, you would share a nugget of wisdom that helps these guys move towards what they want?
The only question I can think of is, I don't know. Is there?
That's a good re-question back to me.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask it a different way. Is there something you want to share that a question I didn't ask, didn't solicit?
No.
Okay.
No, this is a simple answer. I felt this was an interesting conversation. It was all over the place with
everywhere,
which is the whole point.
Yeah.
It's a memorable conversation, which I like. I want to make sure that I'm a part of things that have some sort of like, remember that chat? Like I want to be a facilitator of those things. And
Good.
You provided that for me. So thank you for inviting me on your show.
My pleasure.
Nothing that I can think of.
Awesome.
Other than follow me on Instagram. It's @Bryce Prescott. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, hop on there. Go get him.